Welcome back, folks. I deleted my first video because the information was fine, but the style of presentation, the delivery was crap. So I deleted it. I'm not going to redo it. We're going to move on from there. I'm going to pick up the pace because I have at least 10 years of files of information that I want to get across. And if I keep going at that pace back then, the other video, I'll be ashes before I ever get it done. So tonight I want to talk to you about neoliberalism and globalization. They're inextricably linked, and they're extremely important to your life, whether you know it or not. And I think many of you do know it to some degree. Now, for those of you that just had a big yawn and you thought to yourself, oh, boring, this doesn't affect me, I'm moving on to something else. Please consider this, you're dead wrong. Let me give you one reason, just one reason why that's true. And that one reason should be enough to encourage you to keep listening here. Remember S.O.P.A? S.O.P.A, Stop Online Piracy Act. It was a proposed law not long ago, and millions of you, thank heaven, millions of you put a stop to it, especially you younger folks, because you did your research and you figured out, it wasn't really hidden too well, that very little of that proposed law was about online piracy. Most of that law was about censorship of the internet, control of the internet by the oligarchs, and clamping down on the internet to some degree. So you put a stop to it. Kudos to you. Congratulations. And you did so through peaceful activism. Excellent, excellent. I praise you. Now, here's what's going on since then. Anytime the oligarchs get stopped like that, and they were stopped dead in their tracks, here's what they do. They say, oh, okay, we hear you, public. Okay, we're backing off. We're not going to do that. And then they proceed surreptitiously this way and that way and around this way and back down this way to implement the same thing. And that's what's going on right now. Let me give you an example. And by the way, we're going to get to the presidents in the title in a bit. It's not a misleading title. They're all connected with neoliberalism and globalization, and I'll get to that in a moment, or a few moments. But let's get back to what I just said. They're still trying to implement S.O.P.A in different ways, in different venues, by various means. And here's one of those means, the TPP. I think many of you know that as the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a so-called free trade agreement that Obama and McConnell are working fiercely to get approved in this country. They're working together. They even announced that in speeches on TV or on the news. I don't have a TV, I just use the internet. They're working to get that implemented. And the TPP, in one of its 29 chapters, each chapter is an agreement that participating countries have to sign. In one of those chapters, there are provisions that were in S.O.P.A. So they're going to get it through one way or another. They haven't stopped. Don't ever think they stop. They just, by devious means, go another way and work at it a little differently. The TPP, a so-called free trade agreement, has 29 chapters, as I just said. Only 5 of those 29 chapters have anything to do with trade. The other 24 chapters have been written, well, actually all of them have been written, essentially by 500 to 600 corporate attorneys who were brought in as quote-unquote advisors. They had a tremendous input, a tremendous influence into the construction of these 29 agreements that countries have to sign. Now, remember, Obama and McConnell fiercely working to get this approved in this country. Those 24 chapters that have almost nothing to do with trade deal with things such as the S.O.P.A provisions, the internet, and rolling back environmental laws, rolling back health and safety laws, rolling back protections from the financial sector, giving more protection to crooked mega bankers, if they are crooked. They're not all crooked, but if they are crooked, they're going to get more protection because of the TPP. And you're probably thinking to yourself, but we have laws in our country and etc. Well, the problem is, if the TPP is adopted as a treaty provisions override all national laws. Okay? So it doesn't matter what laws are in place or what protections are in place. The agreements of the TPP will override those national laws. Now, that doesn't mean we have to abide by the provisions of the so-called free trade agreement. We could not abide by it. What happens then? What can they do? Well, they have a provision in the TPP that enforcement, well, first of all, before I get to enforcement, they can sue the country in an international tribunal that is private. It's a private tribunal. And guess who runs it? That's right. The multinational corporations who want this implemented. So you go before this tribunal, and they decide that you have violated this or that or the other. And so one of the things they can do is to impose trade sanctions against your country. World trade sanctions against your country. So there is an enforcement provision. Here's another thing that TPP does, and this is all part of neoliberalism and globalization. I'll tie it in a few minutes here. What they can do if a corporation, any corporation, thinks that one of your country's laws has infringed upon their profits, like say some environmental law, it's caused them to spend extra money to comply, or some health and safety law, food safety or toy safety or whatever, if it's caused them to spend more money than they would normally, they can sue your government. They can take your government to this international tribunal. And once again, if they prove their case, you know, our profits were reduced because of your laws, or this particular law, whatever it is, they can say, the tribunal can say, well, you know, either ignore that law of yours and let us do what we want to do, or we're going to impose trade sanctions against your country. Okay? So that's the TPP in a nutshell. Now, as to neoliberalism, you really should Google that, because that's an 8-hour conversation. But in general, what it amounts to is it's an economic philosophy and it's a political philosophy, and it promotes deregulation, privatization, um, globalization, and all of the presidents from Reagan, that's when it really boomed. Neoliberalism started in the late 60s and the 70s, but it really boomed under Reagan and Thatcher. And then every president since has subscribed to that policy, that philosophy of deregulation, privatization, and globalization. Now, some of them didn't admit it, but think back. Think about Clinton for a moment. What did Clinton and Gore promote? They promoted NAFTA big time. Think about Bush. Bush promoted the North American, the Security Partnership, something like that, for North America. It was basically a North American agreement, including Mexico, U.S., and Canada. He also promoted CAFTA, the Central American Free Trade Agreement. These free trade agreements are nothing but a scam. They're nothing but a way for the super rich to get richer. Factories are offshore, jobs are offshored, incentives are given to mega corporations to get them to do this. So all those presidents, Reagan, Poppy Bush, Clinton, Bush, and Obama. Obama's fighting tooth and nail for the TPP. They're all neoliberals. Now, they go by other labels, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. At the highest levels of the oligarchy, those labels mean nothing, absolutely nothing. They don't care about those labels. All they care about is globalization. And what that means is a worldwide structure or structures that enables unelected business elites to run the economy and the finances of the world. And as I said once before, it's no conspiracy. It's right out in plain sight. We all need to look a little harder, I guess. We have to oppose these things by peaceful activism. So please, please get involved somewhere or another. Anyway, you can do it individually. You can with boycotting this or that or the other. You can do it in groups. You can do it any way you want to. But don't do it by voting. They're all on the same team. Okay, I gotta run. You folks be well. I'll see you soon. Okay, now here we go again. I gotta figure out how to shut this damn thing off. I'm getting there.